What are we doing today, guys? Well, we're going to look at 4 knives that I would not purchase. And it does not mean that they're bad knives. I want to make that clear. Well, that's not absolutely true. One of them is a bad knife, but we're not going to talk about it yet. You know what time it is. Here comes that logo. So for the majority of these knives, it's not a matter that it's a bad knife. It's just that the knife has a lot of features that just do not really strike my fancy, or they just might be knives that I wouldn't use. It's nothing bad, but this is 4 knives that I wouldn't purchase and why. But we are going to start off with the one that I absolutely think is a bad knife. So let's get all this stuff out of the way and take a look at this. So this is the Vision R from We Knife, and it's a Snex design, and I'm not saying anything about like Snex's design. I think that there just was a little bit of forethought that should have been put into it, which makes this not just a bad, but kind of a dangerous knife. You've seen me talk about it. So the reason I wouldn't buy this, several reasons all at once. It's a knife that kind of feels out of sorts to me. It doesn't fit my hand very well. Action on it is not the greatest. I have had it fail to deploy like that. So there's not much detent, so it is easy to make it fail, so you can slow roll it. It's not comfortable in hand, like I said. I don't find it real comfortable for me. And the pocket clip is a severe hotspot. But the biggest thing about it is that it is very easy to disengage this lock from its actual lockup area, and then you're left with a knife that will not lock up, and then you have to fight to get it back in there. So it really doesn't take a lot to pull it back, because once you get it unlocked, you're at that point where it will come past that point. So yeah, it's got some problems. Now, I will say the knife does cut well and things like that, but I'm not trying to find positives. I'm telling you why I wouldn't carry this knife. Another thing about it, it rolls out of the angle of the angle I would want the knife to address. It just feels awkward in my hand, and then that pocket clip. No matter how I put this knife in my pocket, it doesn't sit the way I want. Maybe I'll capture some video of me with it in my pocket so I can show you what I'm talking about. But the fact is, when you put this in your pocket the way it's recommended, it is exactly opposite of how this knife sits in my pocket. See how it goes in? This goes in the corner of your pocket, then the blade is to the front. It's almost like left-hand carry. This knife only fits the way I want it to, left-hand carry, but then if I'm left-hand carry, then it's opposite of the way I want. The pocket clip makes no sense. For this pocket clip to work for me, the pocket clip would have to be here, but the blade is there. So these pocket clips, as much as I love John Graham, he started making these. I don't like them. I never have. So let's get that out of the way. So yeah, this thing has a multitude of things going wrong with it, which just for me makes this one of the few actual bad knives. I do know there's people out there that like it. Jared likes this knife. But like that for me, it makes it a bad knife. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad knife for you. So there you go. The first one, the Vision R by We Knife Company. Knife Up is actually a really good knife. It's just a knife I would not buy because it doesn't meet my point of use. This is the EMP Nimble. Now, we will talk about a lot of good things about this knife. First of all, it is beautiful. It is an attractive blade shape. It's got this big fuller and things like that in it. And it's got this big forward finger choil. The fuller has got a finger flick aperture. You have multiple ways of deploying this knife. You can front flick it. You can back flick it. You can reverse flick it. It is just a really good all around. If you like multiple means of deployment, this is it. It's got a good pocket clip. It's got an all around good look, and it is machined incredibly well. And this one is ridiculously sharp out of box. So it has a lot of things going for it. But for me, in a knife this size, I run into some problems. Now, I originally did like this knife a lot. I still do like this knife, but I wouldn't purchase it because it's just, there's more things that make it awkward for me to carry it and use than some other knives. And I have a lot of knives that already are in this size point. One, blade to handle ratio. Big handle, small blade. I'm not such a fan of that. I'm much more of a 1-to-1 blade to handle ratio, or in fixed blades, 2-to-1 blade to one hand. 2 parts blade, 1 part handle. I'm good with that. The reason I say I don't like this is at this size, I'm not quite, I'm like 3 fingers, but then it's like kind of like awkward here. And if I come forward, I have that big choil, but then that feels awkward. I have this big gap. So it doesn't feel great for me to use like this. So there's a big area of wasted space in this area that I just don't like, and it makes me it makes it uncomfortable in my hand. Now, the other things about it are really good. In this grip, this thing is awesome, which means that if you use a knife like this a lot, that little space isn't so big. But I don't do as much fine little detail cutting, like cutting out patterns and things like that, as other people do. So I'm doing a lot of more hard use cutting, which means I want to have a good grip on it. And once again, you're going to notice a thing about knives that do this. I'm not prone to using them because now I'm out of alignment with the cut and I have to readjust, and it just feels awkward. So not that this is not a good knife. It's just not a knife I would purchase. I like the pocket clip. I love the way it was done. I like all the little bells and whistles, and it's incredibly well made. That being said, it's one of those knives that just doesn't fit my, oh, I hate to do it, I'm going to use a nut and fancy TLA or three-letter acronym. It doesn't meet my POU, or point of use. So here you go, guys. That was number 2. So the next one's going to be...
Guys, I hate to interrupt the video because I know we're having fun, but I do have to do the YouTuber thing and remind you that this channel is self-sponsored with all the affiliate links and stuff you see down below. Anything from knives, tools, EDC gear, and Blade HQ, anything, all the Amazon links, they all support the channel. It doesn't cost you anything at checkout. So I'll talk about that at the end of the video. Now let's go back to the knives.
The Concept Goblin XL. And I was on the fence about this when I tried to give it a chance. It's not going to give it its own video. There's a handful of reasons. The biggest reason is the same reason that I wouldn't purchase the EMP Nimble you just saw. It's this large area here. It just feels awkward in my hand. I don't like this. I don't like this big gap or wasted space. And one of the other reasons, it's just not attractive at all. Typically the looks of a knife don't tend to sway me, but in this case, I just can't get past the way this looks. This looks like a cartoon version of a knife. Now, it does cut well. It's comfortable in this grip. It's got decent jimping. It's got a nice blade transition and things like that. But we're not trying to find nice things about the knife. It is not a good looking knife. It is way too big. It takes up way too much space in pocket. Way too much space in pocket. They had a perfect chance with a larger handle to find a way to nest that large blade in there, because I will tell you, in this grip, if you close your eyes and you don't look at it, it's great. It feels good in hand. But it's just so unappealing to me aesthetically that this is one of those times where the looks of it stop me. Other things I don't like. I'm not a fan of the pocket clip. The pocket clip on this is not great. It's a little tight. It's a little bit weird, and it definitely feels strange in hand at first until you get past it. Lock bar access. This is, while they've opened that up, that is too straight. This needs to be dropped down. That is really skinny. So they've opened that up. So in hand, when you grab it, it feels a little sharp in there. When you put your finger in there, you do have some access, but it's really skinny. If they had taken this down a little bit, they would not have had to have removed as much material here. They could have softened this, and it would have been a lot better access to the lock bar. Because when you get up on it, that feels sharp. That feels sharp right there on your thumb, and it's uncomfortable. I've got fairly tough hands. For other people, it might be more uncomfortable. And then the final reason is, yeah, you got this big aperture here, but not everyone likes to reverse flick only, and I do not like top flippers. Even though you can access it fairly well because it's a large knife, I don't like top or front flippers. And for the guys who are like, well, you don't like it because you're not using your index finger, I don't know how you say that is more comfortable to try and get up on it and use your index finger. I think that's just bunk. I don't agree with that statement. So overall on this one, just the looks, and then it's just all together, just something I wouldn't purchase. And the final knife is this Cybertrix. And while I find it cool and it's neat, it's got a weirdness to it. It looks like there's a product on, I'm going to tell you right now what it reminds me of. There's a product on Amazon that is a futuristic butter knife. And that's what this reminds me of. For as much work as they did on this to make it intriguing and everything, what they've done is they've made it plain. And by making it so plain, it doesn't have it doesn't have a pop that would draw you to it. And then that accentuates the things about it that I don't like. Pocket clip. The pocket clip is really long. When you sit down in a car, your seatbelt's going to catch this. And if you try to stand up, I almost bent this pocket clip all the way up. The way it feels in hand, it's really slick. There we go. It's really slick in hand, and there's nothing to stop you. So this is a very sharp blade. Don't get me wrong, this thing cuts really well. It's a very sharp blade, but there's nothing to prevent you. It feels really slick and almost dangerous. Like if I was working with it, I feel as though I may come up and onto the sharpened part of the blade because there's nothing to transition. The action on this thing is great, but the fact is these thumb studs, which I do like the fact that they're ambidextrous, but these thumb studs are easy to miss. As you see, I've done it several times, especially if you have large hands like me. There's not a lot of space in there. I have to really make a conscious thought to get, even when I do it, still to get in there because I slip off the thumb studs because there's not very much room in there. So then once you do get it deployed, there is no real way to access that lock bar. It's just, it sticks up ever so slightly, maybe a millimeter, if that. And you can't just use your thumb. You have to use the entire pad of your thumb to get on it. So that's another thing about it. And then the final thing is, while I like the idea of not having any exposed hardware, it makes it look very futuristic and it almost looks press fit. The disassembly on this is extremely detailed because you have to remove the entire backspacer and then you have to pull this part way, and it's like an interrupted lug, like a thread. It's a threaded lug with an interrupted thread on both sides. So you slide it down and then 1/4 turn tightens it, which is cool. But the fact is you have to stick something down in here to push this and pop it out to get access to those other functions to take apart and clean it if you want. So it's really detailed. And the fact that they went to all the trouble of doing it is amazing, but in trying to make it intriguing and kind of over the top and futuristic, they made it look plain and unappealing, in my opinion. It does come packaged amazingly, and it is a good knife. Do not get me wrong. The blade on it is done really well and everything, but I'm not trying to find positives. I'm just trying to tell you why I wouldn't purchase these knives. So there you go. That was the 4 knives currently that I have here that I just would not purchase. There's other knives out there, but these are the ones that are here right now that I had access. Jared suggested this. We were talking about it. He says, well, hey, why don't you just do 4 knives that you wouldn't buy? And I'm like, that works. Because not all of it is negative. Some of these knives are actually really good knives. But there's just sometimes that things happen with a knife that just make it not a knife for me. And I know every other knife enthusiast feels that, especially if you buy it sight unseen. So guys, let's turn this around and do some final thoughts.
So there you go, guys. There's 4 knives I wouldn't buy. Now, like I said, only one of them I honestly can say I think is a bad knife. The rest of them are just design features that I might not appreciate that you may, just because I don't like a knife doesn't mean you guys don't. I just like to bring you forward my opinion so you guys see what I look at in a knife, because I know a lot of people look at it the same. So you don't have to get upset. We all have different opinions. If you like these knives, there's nothing wrong with that. So yeah, that's it on this one, guys. If you like the videos, give them a thumbs up. If you don't like them, give them a thumbs down, but please try to tell me why. I can't change the content if you don't tell me what you don't like. If you want to support the channel, it's simple as like, share, subscribe, drop a comment, hit the bell icon. If you hit the bell icon, make sure you got notifications turned on your device or you won't get notified. There's a couple ways you can support the channel that does not cost anything. The first one is, if you guys have knives you'd like to see on a channel, reach out and let me know, and we'll take a look at it, and I'll let you know if it's something I'm interested in doing. If I think it'll do well, you can send me some pictures and stuff like that, and maybe we'll get your knives on my channel. There's a couple ways you can do it. There's a handful of ways you can do it financially that does not cost you anything extra. It's no additional cost. And that's by using my affiliate links down below. Amazon affiliate links, anything you purchase, shampoo, toothpaste, does not matter. It still supports the channel. Blade HQ's down there, Coffee Brand Coffee. And I have 2 affiliate links that have discounts associated with them. Right now, Atlas VPN, which is the VPN I use, is offering like 85% off for a 2-year subscription. It winds up being like $45, I believe. And the other one is my Dull Strong Knives affiliate link. It saves you 10% at checkout. There's a couple other ways you can support the channel financially. I have a membership down below that's tier-based. Everyone has access to my Gilded server. Premium and baseline tier members are automatically entered into my giveaways that I do on the Gilded server, and the premium guys have access to a sharpening tutorial series I've built here on YouTube for them. Check it out and see what tier suits you best. There's other benefits, but I'm not going to go through all of them. And the final way is I have a merchandise store on Ember Shirt Co. This is one of their in-house designs. This is their Ember Shirt Co. primitive hook. I can save you 10% anywhere at checkout at Ember Shirt Co. Whether it's their designs, my designs, or other creators' designs, does not matter. That coupon code is CrazySharp, all one word, capital C, capital S, CrazySharp, saves you 10% at checkout. And if you send me pictures of you wearing my merchandise, I'll put them in the outro. Guys, I love you all. I hope you're having a good week. It's still Sunday for me. I'm trying to get stuff done so that I can go and see the daughter and spend some time with her. So you're going to see these videos pop up. As soon as I have any more information about what's going on with my daughter, I will let you guys know. I appreciate all the thoughts and good wishes and things like that. So I love you guys. Keep it clean in the comment section. If it's your birthday, happy birthday. And I'll see you in the next video.